Okay, now I want to show you how to put text into the image from the web. Now, what I did is, during the break, I went out and I got myself a poem that I liked, The Sweetest Nectar by James K. Blaylock. And the first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to highlight the poem itself. So I'm going to highlight the whole thing, copy it, and I'm going to suggest something that you do something, which is go to All Programs, Accessories, Notepad. Okay? Notepad is an extremely useful document because what Notepad will allow me to do is Notepad's going to allow me to strip any extra formatting that might be in there to clean it up. I'm just go paste, and there we go, The Sweetest Nectar by James Blaylock. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I want to change this to the title. So I'm going to go copy, and I'm going to go to my friend here. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go back to my document. The first thing I'm going to do is click the word fruit, and then what I'm going to do is highlight the term fruit. Whoops. And this is a little tricky to do sometimes. And I'm going to just paste that title in there. And watch what happens. It's going to make a horrible mess, by the way, just to let you know. Okay? And I've got this huge, gigantic font now, which really is just way too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the whole thing and try to get it all. I think I got it all now. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to font size and see if I can come up with something that fits a little bit better. So type size. Let's go to something like, say, size 24 font. All right, and actually I kind of like this, although so I can still continue to play with this a little bit. I can take the Sweetest Nectar and put the words sweetest and nectar on separate lines. Okay, and so now I've got a couple of extra things, and now all I have to do is I'm going to make, by James Blaylock, a little smaller. So I'm going to go size, type, size, and I'm going to make that even smaller. I'm going to make that size 14. So if you look at it, now I've got a couple of spaces. Now I don't know if you remember what this image looked like, but you probably also remember that there were like different types of fruits on different size. So I might even want to take this whole thing and just bring it down a little bit, and that brings it into a slightly different region of the thing. All right, so now it actually shows up a little bit better. All right, so that's one of the ways you can edit your title after you've put it in. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is going to show you how to do a text wrap. Okay, the next part we have to do is a little bit more tricky. What we need to do is we need to type the text, and we have to put the text into a layer directly above the shape. And actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of try to create a new layer here. We're going to be working on layer 2. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a shape. So I'm going to trace the side of the bowl here so that there's a little bit of room here. I'm just going to come around because what I want is I'm going to want the text to come down. Now it's very, very important that you complete the path too. You go back and you click on the final path. Now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to take a text box. I'm going to draw a text box. And the first thing I need to do is I'm going to have to make the text size a little bit smaller. So let's go like 18 or something like that. I'm going to go back to Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to now go back to my Notepad document. I'm going to take the little poem that I got here. Actually, I think the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of some of these stupid spaces that are in here. All right, and so I'm going to get rid of all these extra spaces that have been put in by the author for whatever reason he put them in there. Whoops. And we go, the tasting of the sweetest nectar coming tomorrow. Copy. So we go copy, and now we go back to my Adobe Illustrator document and go edit, Control V. And again, I have to put it in a font that I can read. You know, one of the things you need to be aware of is that you can always get away with kind of funky fonts when you're trying to do something, when you're doing a title, because people do not read titles quickly. All right, but when you're trying to do something you want people to read, you need to give them something that's a little bit easier. Now, what should happen, if I hold down the Shift key and click on the shape, I go Object, I go Type, oops, I always screw this up every single time. Okay, Object, down to Text Wrap, Make, and say OK, and it didn't work. Edit, Undo. All right, I believe generally the way this works is the object has to be in the layer above the text. So I'm going to go Edit, Cut, click on the text, edit, paste in front, hold down the Shift key, let's try it again, Object, Text Wrap, Make. Okay, yeah, there it goes. All right, so now we've got the text wrapping around the image. Now, you notice I got this ugly, ugly, ugly red line. I can now click on this, and I can actually just make that. I click over here where it says stroke, make it transparent, And when I click on it and now I go view, zoom out a little bit, now I've got the title, I've got my name, and I've got the image. Okay, and everything's all put together in one way. All right, so that's a nice way of putting text and images together. You guys can play with this a little bit more if you like. I want you guys to think about how you combine, integrate text into an image here. All right, so there you go.